It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
July 20th, 1969, the iconic line delivered by astronaut Neil Armstrong after he became the first man to step onto the moon. Jump ahead to today, and final preparations are underway for the historic launch of NASA's Artemis II mission, the first crewed trip toward the moon in more than 50 years. 4 astronauts will blast off aboard the Orion spacecraft, powered by the most powerful rocket ever built, for a 10-day journey, passing the moon and then making a U-turn back to Earth. The mission will test critical deep space systems in order to pave the way for future moon landings, perhaps in the near future. Liftoff scheduled for 6:24 p.m. Eastern at Florida's Kennedy Space Center. Joining us now from Cape Canaveral, Democratic Senator Mark Kelly of Arizona. He's a member of the Armed Services Committee and served as a captain in the U.S. Navy. He also, of course, a former NASA astronaut himself who visited the International Space Station 4 times. Senator, thanks for being with us on this special day today. I'm curious, because you're one of the few people on Earth who knows the feeling, what those astronauts must be feeling themselves as they wake up this morning.
Well, Willie, I'm sure they're incredibly excited. I know I am, and I'm not launching off pad 39 Bravo today. So, yeah, they're really excited. They're probably just getting up here in a couple hours. They've got a long day ahead of them, though. They'll be getting suited up this afternoon. They'll head out to the pad, I imagine, a couple hours before liftoff. And then it's going to be an incredible ride to low Earth orbit and eventually all the way to the moon and back. So I'm excited. I'm sure they are just incredibly excited that this day has finally come for them.
Yeah, an exciting step on the way to America's return to putting men and women on the moon. I think a lot of people who are paying close attention to this story maybe ask themselves why we haven't been back to the moon in so long. So there's that part of it. And then the second part of the question is when we may go back. If this mission is successful as expected, when might American men and women walk on the moon again?
Well, I mean, it's hard to get to the moon, especially to get to the surface of it. It took a lot of time and effort and resources of our entire country in the 1960s. I was in kindergarten when Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin first stepped foot on the moon. It was inspiring for me then, but it's been decades, many decades since we've been there. We're trying to get back. We have this effort that is going to, this flight this year, we'll have a couple flights next year to test the landing systems, 2 options, one from SpaceX and one from Blue Origin. And then in later years, we're going to send Americans back to the surface of the moon, hopefully ahead of the Chinese, and establish a lunar presence with people on the surface of the moon. It's inspiring, but it also pushes technology forward. And I think that's really an important thing for the American people to understand. It does take a lot of resources to do programs like this, but it is really only here in the United States of America that we're able to marshal those resources, that technical talent, the engineers and scientists we need to do this, to do hard things. And when we do hard things, we get a lot out of it.
So, Senator, there are many in government and in the private sector who view these moon missions extremely important, but also as a stepping stone, with the more ultimate destination being Mars some years down the road. Do you see that as something that is possible? And if so, why would it be so important?
Hey, when I was a kid growing up in New Jersey, I hoped I was going to be and thought I might be the first person to walk on the planet Mars. I didn't get there. I did make it into space 4 times, twice off of the same pad they're launching on today. But, that's a thing that is fundamentally human, right? We want to see what's over the next hill, what's across the ocean, what's on the surface of the moon, and ultimately sending people to Mars. I think it's just something we have to do. And I want to see Americans on Mars in my lifetime. I would love to be able to see that. It's a challenging mission. I mean, it's much harder than getting to the surface of the moon. So the plan here is over coming years and probably a couple decades, we're going to test the systems on the surface of the moon. that'll help us get to Mars.
Senator, a two-part question for you. The first part is, where do we get a nifty jacket like the one you're wearing? And secondly, could you speak to the work that's actually done and performed on an hourly basis on this trip around the moon?
Yeah, sure. So, the jacket I got when I showed up at NASA in 1996. So this has got some miles on it. And they're going to test the systems of Orion. They're also going to do some rendezvous and proxops, which is they're going to undock, from one piece of the system and fly around it to understand a little bit more about the flying qualities of Orion next to another spacecraft. They'll test procedures, including emergency procedures. And then, ultimately, after several revolutions around the planet, they'll burn their engines and get on what's called a translunar injection trajectory to go 4,000 miles on the other side of the moon. And that's what's going to make this flight rather unique. These four astronauts, Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Koch, and Jeremy Hansen, will be the humans that have traveled furthest from the Earth.
Senator, can we switch gears? I hate to take you away from Cape Canaveral, but to look at the situation in Iran just while we have you here. And I wanted to ask particularly about the comments we've heard from the Secretary of Defense around God and this being some kind of a holy war that America is engaged in Iran. We understand that he's having Bible readings in the Pentagon and has particularly linked this war to some kind of religious endeavor for the United States. How do you respond to that? How do you think that impacts the mission?
Well, yeah, I responded in an article in the New Republic just the other day about this. And, hey, I've never heard a Secretary of Defense say things like this. I don't think it's appropriate. I'm Catholic, as a person of faith, this isn't the way that, war fighters should be thinking about a mission that the government asks them to be on. And I find it pretty objectionable that the Secretary of Defense is trying to intertwine religion with combat operations on the other side of the planet. We put these service members at significant risk. What the government should be doing and saying is giving the American people a coherent rationale for why we are in this conflict and how it helps them. I don't see how this helps the American people afford their rent and groceries and gasoline. Those things are all going to go up because Donald Trump went into this without a strategic plan, with no vision, with no goal, with no timeline, and no exit strategy.
Senator, as you know, the United States military has moved significant assets to the region. Donald Trump is casually talking about sending in ground troops, perhaps to take over Karg Island. Do you view that, given your experience and what you know, as a threat, a negotiating tactic, or are you concerned there may be American troops on the ground in Iran?
Yeah, Willie, I'm really concerned about putting troops on the ground. It is just going to put those individuals at significant risk of losing their lives. This isn't even like conflict with Iraq. This is a much more significant fighting force that we would be up against. When you consider just, thousands of Marines and maybe special operations forces taking an island, it will be challenging, to do that and to hold that territory. And again, I get back to why. Like, what is the goal of taking Karg Island? Is it just that it's a asset of the Iranians and we're back into just taking other countries' stuff? The real mission now needs to be, how do you get the Strait of Hormuz open? 20% of the world's oil runs through there, and because of Donald Trump's poor decision-making in going to war against the Iranians, we've got a big problem that now has to be solved. I would suggest that this administration really thinks hard and comes up with a plan, like a rational plan, on how do you extract yourself from a situation that you created. they went into this with no goal, right? They said it was about regime change, and then it was about nuclear weapons, ballistic missiles, the Navy. Donald Trump had a feeling. I also heard imminent threat of something in the future. That's not strategy. And the worst thing that could happen at this point would be the loss of American service members on the ground in a foreign country.
And President Trump has said he's comfortable walking away with the Strait of Hormuz still closed. He said that yesterday. One last item for you before we let you go, Senator. Pete Hegseth obviously has targeted you in recent weeks and months because you reminded American troops of their duty to defy illegal orders, something Pete Hegseth has said himself many, many times over the years. But just yesterday, the defense secretary lifted the suspension of the crews involved in that military helicopter flyby outside the Nashville area home of Kid Rock. The U.S. Army initially announced suspensions after the musician posted videos to social media showing him waving and saluting as a pair of Apache helicopters flew low over the backyard of his property there in Tennessee. President Trump was asked about the suspension by reporters at the White House.
Well, they probably shouldn't have been doing it. Yes, you're not supposed to be playing games, right? But I'd take a look at it. They like Kid Rock. I like Kid Rock. Maybe they were trying to defend him. I don't know.
Shortly after those comments from the president, Secretary Hegseth took to social media, writing simply, "Suspension lifted, no punishment, no investigation. Carry on, patriots." Senator, your response.
Well, I'm not a Kid Rock fan. At the same time, I mean, I don't see why we would, punish these guys. Young pilots in whether it's an Apache or there were times, I did stuff in airplanes that probably wasn't the smartest thing to do. So, and I generally do not agree with Pete Hegseth, on anything, and I don't agree with his post. He should let the Army deal with this. But I would hope guys, doing something like that's just kind of a dumb thing to do. Flying close to, people's homes, even when it's Kid Rocks, they know they're not supposed to do that. But I would not want to see them punished. I mean, these are patriots that are serving their country and taking a lot of risks with their own lives.
Well said. Retired U.S. Navy captain, member of the Armed Services Committee, and former NASA astronaut, Democratic Senator Mark Kelly of Arizona. Senator, enjoy that special day down there today. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.